All of my friends hate me because of what I said. But I don't know what I did wrong. I, 25, have my own 2-bedroom apartment that used to belong to my uncle. I made a friend during my uni years I'll call Mary, 27. Mary had quite a hard home life, too long to detail here. I let her know that if she ever needed my help, she could always rely on me no matter what. When we graduated I asked her to move in with me rent-free. She tried to pay but I knew she had a lot of debt trying to pay for uni so I told her no and to spend her money freeing herself from it. She was so thankful for this, and I loved having her live with me. We never fought about anything, both of us have the same cleaning habits and TV interests so there's never any arguments over the remote or who has to take out the bins, etc. Tonight we were out at a super fancy restaurant in London as Mary had finally paid off the last of her debt, secured herself an amazing promotion at her job, and also finally passed her driving test. All these achievements in the same month were more than deserving of an award, so we splashed out. It was me, Mary, 4 of her work friends, and 2 friends we've known since uni. It was a great night, until I handed Mary a card saying how amazing she is and how lucky I am to have her as my best friend, with quite a bit of cash inside to put towards her first car. She started crying and thanking me and we hugged for a long time. When she pulled away I told her I was so proud of her for kicking life in the butt, becoming successful, and showing her dad that his jerk ways couldn't keep her down. After how she'd struggled through uni, pushing pennies together, and working crap jobs, seeing her in her dream career and being such an accomplished woman is absolutely inspiring to me. She looked mad and said, "Please don't do that, you know I don't like it when you do that." She'd never said anything like this to me, ever, so I have no idea where this was coming from. I apologized and said that I didn't realize saying these things would upset her as it's never been my intention. She just scoffed and rolled her eyes, and when I looked up at her colleagues they were all shaking their heads at me and glaring. I felt so awkward I wanted to shrink back into my own skin, and I was mortified that I hurt Mary. Mary didn't talk to me for the rest of the night and ignored me at the table. When we split up to head home, none of her colleagues even looked at me as they left. I said sorry to Mary as she was heading to her room to turn in but she just shrugged me off, told me she was tired and that we'll talk in the morning. I'm so anxious that she'll want to move out or never talk to me again. I keep going over every interaction in my head to see if I crossed a line in the past but she never gave any indication that I upset her saying these things before. All her colleagues messaged me saying I was an asshole for saying those things to her and belittling her but I never ever meant any of those things like that. After all of my friends got mad and yelled at me for some unknown reason, I finally heard my roommate moving around the kitchen, so I went to talk to her. She acted totally normal and started talking to me about some drama at her work while I just stood there kind of unsure what was happening or what to do. So I apologized again. She looked up at me in confusion and said, "Why are you sorry?" I reminded her of last night and how mad she was. Then she laughed and said it doesn't matter, don't worry about it, and then continued making breakfast. I asked if I'd stepped over a line last night, if the money was too much and if I made her feel inferior, and she said nope. We're cool. It doesn't matter, I think everyone just misunderstood the situation and you're taking things to heart a little too much. I told her about her friends texting me, telling me that what I said was belittling and that I was a jerk, and she just shrugged and said they probably misread things and she'll talk to them. I was so tired because I hadn't slept because I thought she hated me, that I'd hurt her and she'd never speak to me again, but she's fine? Like she's completely normal and just chatting with me as if last night never happened, but I'm just so confused? She seemed too upset, ignored me for the rest of the night, and her coworkers treated me like a criminal, but everything's okay I guess? I got a call from one of the uni friends who was at the dinner last night and we had a chat. She asked me if everything was okay between me and Mary as she said she'd never seen Mary snap at me like that until last night. I filled her in on everything that we'd talked about and how confused I was as well. She reaffirmed many of my feelings about this being very out of character for Mary, as she had also congratulated Mary and said similar things, as well as given her a bit of money in a card, along with an expensive gift, as did many of the others. After talking to all of our friends, we found out it's all an effing lie. I talked to both of Mary's coworkers when they came round in the afternoon and they both denied any of that. The one I had spoken to earlier on the phone, we'll call Claire, said she'd call one of the work colleagues that she knows slightly well in order to clear things up. Let's call the colleague Jane. Jane turned up at the flat and instantly looked pissed. I almost wanted to hide behind the kitchen counter when she came in glaring daggers at me. We all sat down and I let Jane know that I'd spoken to Mary about last night and that she was fine, but I was still confused. Jane then laughed and said, "Oh, don't try that crap with me, you can't just pretend now that you've been exposed in public." The 3 of us looked at her without saying a word as we were all confused now. Claire asked her what she meant and Jane said that she knew how I really treated Mary. We both asked her to elaborate, and she stood up and went on this tirade about how I apparently regularly abuse and belittle Mary, then intimidate her into saying nothing about it and put on a smile for others. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry at this point. She then showed me her text with Mary where Mary wrote to her in distress about being locked in her room because I was having a meltdown about her making friends at work, something that never happened. Claire and my other friend took the phone and looked through the messages as well, and I had to stop reading them as they all said stuff about how Mary was afraid of me and that I'd trapped her here and was extorting rent out of her. It all just leaves me numb and dead inside. Eventually Claire got to a point where Mary said I'd cancelled her 21st birthday at uni and told her she wasn't allowed to go out. The thing is, Claire and my other friend were at Mary's 21st birthday, which I'd put over £500 towards to have a themed Great Gatsby night she'd always wanted, which in the messages she was claiming never happened. We went over a lot of the stuff in the messages and realized that Mary had been spreading lies about me to all her colleagues about how I was abusive and she couldn't move out because I was charging her so much rent money. This absolutely shattered me. Mary was like a sister to me through our uni years, and I can't fathom why she'd say any of these things. It took a long time, but after Claire and my friend went over all the accusations with Jane and I pulled up my bank details to show that Mary never makes a single payment to me except for her half of the bills, she seemed to cool down and settled into the same confusion we were all feeling. She let us know that Mary told all of her colleagues this story and that the reason they were mad at me is because Mary said I like to use a manipulation tactic where I pretend I support her through everything but use her past against her whenever we're in private. They all thought that's what I had been doing last night. That everything I said was meant as a backhanded compliment. Claire had to calm me down as I couldn't stop crying no matter what I did for ages. It was quite embarrassing, but I just couldn't do anything else. Now I'm a little more level-headed, still mad but not crying anymore. I don't even want to look at Mary again. My friends have told me not to make hasty decisions. Even Claire said she was disgusted by the things Mary was saying about me in the texts when everyone knows them not to be true. I know that I probably won't be able to clear my name with her colleagues, but I don't really care about that. I just want to know why Mary said those things about me.